Okay, good evening. It is Tuesday, 2025, July, what is this, July 7th, I think. Okay, so I wanted to clarify of what happened to me the other day, because this is a really serious situation. I feel with myself and other veterans going on at that VA in St. Paul, Minnesota. Okay, so I went in there and I just had a piece of paper, for some reason, like a job thing, asked, like what my disabilities are. Okay, right. And to me, and all you have to do is you go to the registration and you can print out what your disabilities are. And it should, like, any doctor could have signed off on it. And like I said, my primary doctor there got moved to a different state. And so I haven't reestablished care. So I just wanted any doctor to sign it. And I didn't think it should be a big deal. Okay, so all that happened was this was at the VA in St. Paul. All that happened was that I just said, look, it doesn't say that it has, the lady at the front desk tried to give me a hard time and say it has to be signed by your primary. And I said, ma'am, it says right here, you can look at the piece of paper. It doesn't have to be a primary doctor. Okay, really, I served all these years in the military and I can't get one piece of paper signed. And then she's like, oh, are you being disorderly now? This is the same game that the police have played on me. That if I get any kind of interaction going, they claim that is disorderly. Okay, so this is the game she started playing, and then all of a sudden security was called because I was trying to get a piece of paper signed. Okay, so then the security comes, and at first they were being cool, and I said, I just want this paper signed. That's all I wanted. I said, and you can clearly see that it doesn't have to be a primary doctor. It could be any doctor here at the ER to sign this. And then they were being cool at first. Then all of a sudden, something came in, and they said, "What's her last four?" Some other guy radioed the security there. Like the whole police, like I said, they're in a clique. Okay, and they said, is your last four 4638? And I said, yes. And they said, oh, well, do you have a warrant from Texas? And it's like, oh my God. So now you go to the VA and you're going to be detained for something that's first of all, it's a false charge. And I'll talk about this in a whole separate video. Believe me, we're going to go there with Texas, because I've had enough of Texas. You can't believe what happened to me in Texas. And then we have this disaster that happened in Texas, and now they're talking that there was cloud seeding involved. So believe me, I'll get into exactly what happened to me in Texas with the police there. And by the way, the chief of police in Uvalde, Texas, did get removed from office for what they did to those 19 children in Uvalde, where they were all just standing there watching them all get murdered, didn't they? So the police chief got removed there. That's my understanding. And there was a lady that had to go in and save her own child in Uvalde, so the child wouldn't get killed that day. But because the police would not go in there. Instead, they were just standing right outside, just allowing all the kids to get murdered. And yes, that did happen. Yes, that did happen. That really did happen. 19 children died. And the police were just standing there. Aren't they lovely? Yes. So I get illegally detained. So now I will never go back to this VA hospital. So now you are completely denying my care, because I will never go back to this hospital. This is the same hospital that murdered my friend's father. I did a video on this 2 years ago. His name was Tom Turnholm, TJORN, and he was a Korean War veteran. It was my friend John's father. John was at home taking care of his mother as a caretaker. He was trying to take care of both. His dad had gotten some kind of a systemic bladder infection. Well, the same thing has happened to me. They won't give you antibiotics anymore. It's like you have to really fight to get an antibiotic or anything anymore at the VA. They're trying to say that they overprescribed or something. So his dad had this chronic infection going on, and it had gotten really bad that I believe it was becoming systemic. So he finally went in, and apparently, but he did go. We did bring in the paperwork that he had filled out, where it says that he wished to be resuscitated, and this was a directive. They were handed the directive, and instead they did, but he did go into, apparently he did go into cardiac arrest. I think he had a systemic bladder infection that could have been treated. Instead, he went into cardiac arrest. They let him get into cardiac arrest, and they did not resuscitate. So John gets his phone call, like in the middle of the night or something, that his dad had passed. And then he's freaking out because he's thinking it's just a treatable bladder infection. And they said, well, and he said, well, didn't you try resuscitating? And they said no. They just flat out just said no, like no emotion, no anything. So they just denied the directive. They're killing the elderly over there. They're killing the elderly, just like what they did at M Health to his mother. Okay, so now I'm just being flat out denied care. Okay, so then we're going to get into the issue where they tried to say, oh no, then they tried to say, no, we're not going to sign it. You need to bring this to a mental health person at the VA. And I said, I don't have a mental health person at the VA. So who am I going to get this signed? So what they're trying to push on me, because I'm doing so many videos, and I have been for years exposing a lot of things, what they're attempting to push is this whole mental health thing. Okay. First of all, PTSD should not even be in the same category at all as any kind of mental health disorder. Okay, PTSD is a trauma issue. And, 90% of all veterans have it, 90% of all police have it. But here's the difference. The police, they offer therapy for the police. We're not offered any therapies. We've requested it. We've requested DBT therapy, group therapy. They don't offer one thing. If you were to offer a therapy, that's different. And so what they were attempting to do that day was they were attempting to try to lock me up. And without offering any therapy at all for PTSD. Okay, we're not going to offer you any therapy. Instead, we're just going to start locking up all the veterans that have PTSD, which would be like 90% veterans. So watch out. This is a new agenda that the deep state has. They're going to start just locking up all of the veterans that have PTSD. So, okay. So this is the new narrative now. So watch out. You could be pulled over by the police, and if they somehow find out you have PTSD, you could end up in a mental hospital. Okay. Does that sound like it's fair or some kind of thing that should happen? Because, but then, well, don't the police have PTSD too? And the firefighters? Yeah, all of them. And guess what? They're offered therapies. Even the people that come out of prison are offered therapy. There's a friend of mine that has came out of prison, and they're going to a program called Rise, which is like a DBT program. This is people for prison that have come out of prison. Oh, but they don't offer anything at the VA for the veterans. Does that make sense to anybody? Or is it just me? Okay, so this is to me, this is an emergency situation with this, because now this means that they've crossed a line and they're going to start locking veterans up that have PTSD. That was what they were attempting to do that day. They were trying to force me to go talk to a mental health person at the VA, and I said I haven't established any kind of a care with a mental health person. And I don't take anything for the PTSD. I just manage it. Okay, that is what they were attempting to do. So now if they attempted that with me, then they could attempt that with any other veteran. Okay, they could all of a sudden, you go in, and if they pull up something, okay, we're going to transfer you over to mental health. You're in the ER just trying to get treated for something, and all of a sudden you could end up in a mental health ward now at this VA. So watch out for the VA in St. Paul, they have completely lost their mind. Okay, I've talked about the issues that I've had with physical therapy, with the patient advocacy, the Optum, they're all, okay, now this is, now you can't even go to the ER and feel safe without the security coming over. Okay, and the woman, I wasn't even doing anything. I wasn't talking disruptively or being disorderly in any way. All I said was, well, this paperwork doesn't say that it needs to be signed by a primary. If you can see right here, it just says it needs to be signed by anybody. So that's called having a conversation. That's not called disorderly behavior. So maybe, yeah, I think these people at the VA need therapy. I think they're the ones who need to be locked up. Okay? So I'm just warning all the veterans that this now is a line that has been crossed at the VA, where they are now attempting to lock up veterans who just have PTSD. Instead, we're not going to provide you therapy. No, we won't do that for veterans. But we'll provide therapy for police and firefighters, but not for veterans. Instead, we're just going to lock the veterans up. That's our new agenda. So this is the new agenda of the deep state. I just want to inform and warn all the veterans that your government is now trying to lock you up for the trauma that they caused. Okay? So isn't this lovely? Watch out.